Good evening. Aloha, everyone. Thank you, Naim, for wonderful devotional part. And we are united in this wonderful prayer with all the friends throughout the world. Now, I want to say that I'm very honored and delighted to welcome one of our special guests tonight, one of our famous musicians, a wonderful heart and soul with wonderful music, Mr. Ali Yousefi. Welcome.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me with you guys today. Can you hear me okay? Yeah? Wonderful. So I thought we'd start with one hidden word from the Baha'i writings about adversities and challenges and kind of their inner meanings. No? Not because marriage is full of adversity, but that too. But we're also going through a lot of struggles in the world today. Son of man, if adversity befall thee not in my path, how canst thou walk in the ways of them that are content with my pleasure? How canst thou walk in the ways of them that are content with my pleasure? Son of man, son of man, and if trials afflict thee not in thy longing to meet me, how wilt thou attain the light in thy love for my beauty? Son of man, son of man.
Wow. Wow. Wonderful. Thank you, Aglitu. Thank you. Thank you very much. Amazing.
My pleasure. Thank you guys so much. And is it 2 songs or 1 song? 2 songs. Okay.
Yes,
So I
yes,
have one more song for you
sure,
guys.
sure.
Is it possible to actually see maybe see everybody on the screen? I'll change myself to gallery view. But for this next one, there you go. I'd love to see as many of you on the screen as possible. Unfortunately, we all have to be muted, but I thought we'd do one that hopefully some of you know and can sing along with, yeah? Which is Unite, if you guys have heard this song. So I'd love to see you singing with me on your screens.
Okay, we do. Thank you.
I can imagine your beautiful voices singing along. Unite and bind together the hearts. Unite and bind together the hearts. Join in accord all the souls. Join in accord all the souls. Oh Lord, make these faces radiant through the light of thy oneness. Unite and bind together the hearts. Unite and bind together the hearts. Join in accord all the souls. Join in accord all the souls. Oh Lord, make these faces radiant through the light of thy oneness. Okay, so you all know it by now? Yeah? Can we sing along together? Nice and loud so everybody can hear. Unite and bind together the hearts. Unite and bind together the hearts. Join in accord all the souls. Join in accord all the souls. Oh Lord, make these faces radiant through the light of thy oneness. Unite and bind together the hearts. Unite and bind together the hearts, the hearts. Thank you guys so much for singing along. I could see all of you there on your screens. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Ali John, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. Thank you for accepting our invitation. You have another concert after this, so thank you so much. It's very special. And we're indeed very grateful. Thank you again. Well, everyone, hope you're all have been enjoying so far. It's a great honor having you all with us tonight. My name is Samha Ferdosian from the UAE, and I'm so excited to be with you all here tonight. Tonight's topic, as we all know, is on marriage and family life in the world order of Baha'u'llah. And we're so lucky and excited to hear what our dearest and amazing Shahnam has to say. But before we start, surely we would like to start with knowing a little bit more of our amazing speaker, Shahnam. Shahnam Izzat Pano was born on the 17th of June in 1990 as the second child of Iranian parents who emigrated to Europe following the Persian Revolution. Shahnam Izzat Pano grew up in Mainz, where he began his bachelor's degree in sociology and history, which he was able to continue and to complete in a consecutive master's degree at the University of Darmstadt. Next to his studies, he also examined other branches of knowledge, which particularly covered the fields of philosophy, theology, and the history of religions. The in-depth study made for this is expressed in the publication of 9 nonfiction books so far. His approach to educational science, which at the same time led him to deal more intensively with the question of true ethics of learning, inevitably awakened in him the desire to contribute to the process of preparing future generations for their life's tasks and responsibilities they have for their fellow human beings, as well as to sharpen their awareness to independent thinking in order to differentiate between constructive and destructive forces in their environment. At present, his research focuses on the study of the reality of the human being, his free will, his consciousness, the exercise of his reason, his individuality, destiny, development, and his essentially required threefold constituted moral, intellectual, and physical educational process. Shahnam is also passionate about poetry, writing lyrics inspired by the concepts and principles of the Baha'i revelation. He's also a very good rapper, I must say. I had asked him before if I could say this as well, that he met his wife 2009 at the temple, at the German House of Worship, and they got married at 2012, I believe. So without further ado, would like to hear what Shahnam has for us tonight, and hope you all have an amazing evening with us today.
Thank you, Samhoja. And welcome, Shahnam.
Allah, beloved friends, brothers and sisters in spirit, co-workers in the establishment of the New World Order, co-heirs of the Kingdom of His Holiness Baha'u'llah. I'm very happy to have the chance to be with you tonight, friends. Thank you very much to all the friends who paved the way for our tonight's deepening, like Roya Khanum, Samha, Irina, and Mariam Jun, who prepared and organized tonight's sessions. Thank you very much to Parvez Rassami, who organized the sessions, the deepenings in the year 2020. And this is, as Roya Khanum also already said, the first deepening that we have in the year 2021. And thank you very much to our special guests, Naim and Ali, who really uplifted and elevated our souls by their intoned prayers and the quotes they shared with us. Thank you very much. Tonight's topic, friends, is a very crucial one. It's a very crucial one, friends. It's family life and marriage in the light of the ethics of His Holiness Baha'u'llah and in the holistic frame of His revelation. You know, beloved friends, why is this topic such an important topic? Yeah, we all know, because it is something that is like a life-shaping, and it's known as or explained by Abdul Baha as entitled as one of the 3 major events in our life, which is birth, the departure from this world, and then actually the marriage. Yeah. So next to that, Shori Effendi makes something very important clear for us, especially for the young friends. He says there's no topic in the world, no issue in the world where we as spiritual entities are making so many compromises with our own ideals and principles, like in the question of love, engaging in love, and marriage. So friends, you see, this is a very important topic, which is highly biased in today's society. And of course, as it is misunderstood and highly biased, it was clear that the Redeemer of the world for this age, His Holiness Baha'u'llah, of course, would also move his exalted pen in order to elevate, educate, and redefine this and reorientate our understanding of this very crucial topic of marriage and family life. So, beloved friends, this very important topic, let's regard it historically in the context of the divine plan, of the eternal divine plan. You know, beloved friends, that as Abdul Baha explains in Some Answer Questions, where he speaks about one paragraph of the St. John's Revelation, he says that religion in general consists of two parts. Religion consists of an eternal part and a social ethical aspect, which is revealed according to the necessities of that very age in which the religion, in that very historical and social context, appears. Yeah? So the eternal part of the religion consists of aspects like the fasting, but you know, in different forms, in different expressions, the prayer concept, meditation, this somehow being interconnected to the transcendent, even though in the past religions that might have been to the channel of the immanent world, but somehow to find access to your deeper human reality is part of the eternal truth of religion. So now, friends, amongst this eternal part of religion, you find things like prayer, worship, I said, fasting, meditation, doing virtuous deeds, and interestingly, to establish and create temples, houses for the worship of the divine entity. And amongst these eternal laws, you also find the concept of family and marriage. So what is the aspect of the eternal part of the religion of God? The eternal part of the religion of God, as Abdul Baha makes it very clear, is actually just solely one thing. One thing. As we have to understand religion, as Baha'u'llah is redefining it in the tablet of Tarazat and Bisharat, religion, especially the eternal part, is always an instrument for man. Man is the aim of Baha'u'llah's revelation, the aim of his ethics. Religion is not the aim of Baha'u'llah. Religion is an instrument. So what is the instrumental aspect of the eternal part of religion? To deepen, now listen closely, friends, to deepen your understanding of the divine. To deepen your understanding of truth is the most crucial aspect of the eternal part of religion. So if marriage and family life is part of the eternal aspect of religion, it finally has to be regarded, as Abdul Baha says, in the same light as prayer, fasting, meditation. What is fasting and prayer for your life? It is to make yourself connected with truth. Because you as a human being are created to be a lover, a worshiper of truth. So to connect you with truth, with the divine, is the purpose of prayer, fasting, meditation, and going to a house of worship. Yeah, to reshape your consciousness and set it into the direction of the divine. So in the same sense, you have to understand the concept of marriage. What we say is absolutely very abstract for the non-Baha'i world of today, especially if you regard it in the time of romanticism and so on, and how after enlightenment, the concept of love and marriage and family life and the role of women in the household was defined, axiomatic, like as given laws that were not to be questioned. So now we are in the transition phase of a new understanding of family by the teachings and by the creative power of the consciousness of His Holiness Baha'u'llah and His revelation. So now, friends, the first thing we had to keep in mind was marriage was a part of the eternal truth of religion. The eternal truth of religion fulfilled its purpose in making man, the created entity, familiar with the divine. So now, let's go a step further than this now. Something very important is here. Beloved friends, brothers and sisters in spirit, marriage life, to have a deepening about marriage in itself might be a mistake, because we can never speak about marriage and family life outside of the holistic revelation of Baha'u'llah. So it's not a topic amongst many topics. Marriage and family life, as Abdul Baha is emphatically making clear, is to be regarded in the light of the universal purpose of Baha'u'llah's revelation. There is one universal purpose for the dispensation of Baha'u'llah, and there is one universal purpose in the life of each one of his followers. Each human being has this universal truth, consciously following that, subconsciously not being aware of that. But there's one universal purpose in the life of every created thing and a created entity, especially man. And now there's one universal purpose that is expressed and emanates from the teachings of Baha'u'llah. And marriage can't be regarded as a fragmented, separated topic amongst many topics. It has to be regarded in the light of one question. What is the purpose and universal value in the life of a human being? So without this answer, it's impossible to really adequately understand the depth of family life and marriage and the ethics of Baha'u'llah. So, beloved friends, the answer to what is universal purpose, this is a topic for itself. But just one more thing, if the Universal House of Justice speaks since 2016, 2013, very extensively about coherent life, we all come up with different interpretation what coherent life for the individual means. Coherent life only means one thing. It's not just even an invention of the universal laws of justice. It is universal laws of justice emphasizing it. It goes back to the writings of His Holiness Baha'u'llah himself. Coherent life means that you do whatever diverse channels and expressions this life offers for you. You do that in the most excellent way and try to strive for excellence in every area, but always with the mindset that it has to be a means to a higher purpose, to the fulfillment of your universal purpose in life. The thing that you do, job, family, whatever, university, is not an end in itself. It's always a means to a higher purpose, to a universal purpose. This is coherent life. That means, actually, this is also what Abdul Baha explains coherent life when he says, if you work, be constantly in connection with the divine. What does that mean? That means if you work, do not regard your work or whatever you do as a self-purpose, but as a means to a higher purpose, which must be spiritual in its essence. So this is also a Baha'u'llah's explanation, his ethics about purity of motives. This is the explanation of why we are doing 95 times Allah a day, because the zikr of 95 times Allah in the Kitab al-Aqdas mentioned, which it actually goes back to the numerical value of 95, which is in Arabic, the numerical value for the expression lillah, which means for God, dedicated to God. Yeah, and the Bab explained in the Kitab al-Bayan, lillah means in this dispensation for whom God will make manifest, for Baha'u'llah. So this is the concept of purpose. What is now, if we speak abstractly now about coherent life and everything, what is, according to Abdul Baha and His Holiness Baha'u'llah, the meaning of purpose in the life of man? What is the universal purpose in every entity's life? So the universal purpose, Baha'u'llah calls that, what I want to explain in a second, is he is explaining that, he's describing that as the peak of mysticism, the peak of mystic understanding. Yeah, the culminative point of your understanding of spiritual truth. And I mentioned that already in many, many topics. I'm very sorry for the friends who took part more than once in our sessions that I have to repeat that, but it's very important, and I have to emphasize that for the topic of marriage and family life. Yeah. So Abdul Baha and Baha'u'llah explained this. God, or means perfection, has no reason to create the imperfect or let the imperfect exist next to itself, except for an unconditional state. The unconditional state, philosophically spoken, is in the language of mysticism, in the language of Irfan, we call that love. So perfection is in no need of anything for imperfection and still lets imperfection to exist. But this is the reason for our creation. But what is the purpose? Purpose and reason, since Aristotle, we know that, is not the same, and also not in the ethics of Baha'u'llah. So if God created out of love, how it is emphasized in the hidden words, but for what reason? So he could not create. Why did perfection create imperfection? Because the existence of imperfection for perfection in itself is an ontological limitation, you could say. So why is perfection bestowing existence to imperfection? Baha'u'llah gives us this very important life lesson-like answer, which is very important to keep in mind. He says, perfection created imperfection out of love, but for what purpose? In order for imperfection to strive to become like perfection. To say it differently, God created man in order for man to become like God. So this is what Baha'u'llah says, the peak of mystic understanding. And there's no ideology giving more dignity to the creation than Baha'u'llah by explaining the purpose of man. So perfection created imperfection. God created man in order for you to strive to become like God. So what does that mean? We spoke about that in different sessions. But what does that mean in the context of family life? We will come to that surely today. So friends, now what is very important is this. If the aim of, the aim of somebody living with this aim of waking up in the morning, going back to sleep with the thought of how can I partake on divinity, how can I become like God, is seriously and dramatically different than someone who's like living day to day or just living with the ethical notion of I want to be a good human being, like with the philosophy of humanism in the Renaissance. No, Baha'u'llah's ethics and the Bab's ethics in the Bayan are beyond that. It's a very, very difficult measure to reach, but there's no compromise with that very measure that Baha'u'llah says, that you are in this age enabled to become like the divine. So this is your goal in life as a Baha'i. So now, what does that mean for marriage life? It means everything for marriage life, friends. Everything for marriage life is summed up by what I just explained ontologically about the purpose and life of man. So why? Because Abdul Baha is saying this, very important. He says, you should not choose a partner because of course, you should not choose a partner based on appearance. This is obvious also to, it's nowadays also morally understood somehow in the broader society. And but what is interesting now, Abdul Baha says this would be an arbitrary choice, a random choice, because there's so many people that God, as the creative power of beauty, the Mashara Jamal, the manifestation of beauty, created in a very harmonious, beautiful way. So man, women, so many beautiful creations in this world, yeah, as handiworks of God. So now you should not choose a partner based on appearance, and you should now not choose a partner based on character. Why? So why? How could Abdul Baha say you should not choose a partner on personality? So if it's not appearance, is it not personality? No, because it would be vain to think I am the only one having a good personality in the environment of my wife, and she chose me because I'm the only good human being in her environment. This is actually absolutely ridiculous. So of course, there are so many people, even in the Baha'i community, just in the Baha'i community, there's so many wonderful souls. And then you go to the broader society, so you see so many wonderful personalities, so many wonderful characters. So of course, this would be still, if we are honest, this is an arbitrary choice. This is a random choice. There's the pool on potential candidates for partnership or for constituting the institution of marriage. There will be too many options. So what is the real measure for choosing a partner, Abdul Baha says? This is very important. And this is where Shur Irfan is warning us, we should not make compromises with ourselves. So Abdul Baha is explaining this. You should choose a partner who nurtures and fuels your ambition of getting closer to your divine destiny, who empowers and enables you to fulfill your divine destiny, which ultimately means to partake on divine perfection, for you to become like the divine. So Abdul Baha says the real measure for a true Baha'i partnership, is you choose a person according to, does she fuel the ambition of yours? Do you have a common and unified vision on you and her and the partner, him or her, to partake on the divine reality, to unfold your divine essence? This is the reason why man was created. There's no other reason why God let this existence to exist. Perfection created imperfection. Only. There's no other reason. Because it's an unconditional state created, but for what reason? For what purpose? For imperfection to become like perfection. So choose a partner who is a shareholder on this view with you, has a common view with you on the purpose of your spiritual journey. So of this suddenly frames an arbitrary choice to a very rational choice. Suddenly, there is just a specific amount of people and options and candidates who really share that same worldview with you. That does not mean that other people are not good people, but for making a choice for a Baha'i institution, for family life, which is an institution, there should be nothing like a compromise. You would also not give a vote as a member of the National Spiritual Assembly to compromise who should come to the universal laws of justice. You do that in the humble spirit of prayer and worship, and you know that this decision is a holy decision. So why should we do a compromise with that in choosing our partners for all the lives of God to come? So you see, this is absolutely would be spiritually irrational. And now we come to a very important point. Abdul Baha, time and again in his tablets, is emphasizing about love, a point that should not be underrated and must be really emphasized. Time and again, he says in his tablets about marriage, or wherever he's addressing believers who married and he's congratulating them, he's always saying, love your, or if somebody like asks Abdul Baha for the blessings to marry, Abdul Baha says, love your partner with heart, with head and heart. Means with your, or it's different passages, it says with soul and heart. As we know, the soul in the Baha'i writings, which you call in the original the nafs natireh, is the rational soul, the reasonable soul. We call that the soul which possesses reason. It's not the emotional soul, friends. What do I want to say with that? That means you can't give a decision on your partner by feeling. It has to be feeling, but every feeling or every notion of love must withstand within the framework of logic and reason. This means choosing a Baha'i partner. Friends, this is why I said at the beginning, this is a very challenging topic because it questions all our previous understanding of reality and something else. We all know the things that we're like sharing right now and it's going to be shared, but the difficulty in the topic of love and relationship and engagement and everything is what? is that this is the topic where most of the times, as Shore you said, with compromises, we tend to overstep our own principles. We are not truthful to ourselves anymore. In many topics which are externally religious, we are very steadfast. But wherever it is something internal, emotional, you see, this is a huge challenge for us not overstepping our own principles and ideals. And the ideals, which we mentioned, some very heavy ones right now, we will speak about that a little bit more in a second. But now very important, friends, is this: love must withstand in the arena of logics and reason. This is what Baha'u'llah explains, somewhere which it apparently does not have something to do with family and marriage. But as I said before, you have to regard the whole revelation of Baha'u'llah holistically. So in the seven valleys in itself is a conceptual frame, because the addressee was a mystic who believed in the concept of this valleys and this journey and everything. This is a topic for itself. But if we want to take that frame for marriage and life, you come to that conclusion. In the valley of love, love is as an emotional expression, as a notion of love without the reason. It is described as something destructive, constructive, and destructive. Yeah. But then you see Baha'u'llah's warning from in that the wayfarer of that valley. At the same time, he's like also praising him for his enthusiasm and everything. But he says sooner or later he has to pass that valley to the valley of knowledge, the Wadi Irfan. There it is still the valley of love. It's not the valley of scholarship. Valley of knowledge means you understand what you love and why it is the object of your adoration. So this is very important. This is also the differentiation in the Kitab Iran of belief, of faith, and certainty. The concept of Iman and Iran, which Baha'u'llah obviously calls the Kitab Iran, to show that faith must be a conscious decision for the truth. So in the partnership, it's the same. You can't say, I met someone and we felt somehow that that might be a sound relationship. Your love has to withstand in the framework, in the arena of logics and reason. It is called the reasonable soul. The Nafs Natiqah, Baha'u'llah Abdul Baha says, love with head and heart. The emotions are expressions of our soul, that's right. But the foremost expression of our soul in our human reality is our mind, the reason. Aql. Yeah. So what Baha'u'llah explains. So now, friends, this is very important. You have to understand why you are attracted to a certain person. We do not, as Baha'is, believe in a subconscious falling in love. This exists as a process in our human reality, of course. But we believe that you can be in charge of expression of notions and feelings. You as a human being are so noble, you are not determined by emotions. You are in charge of your emotions. This is very important, friends. You can't say, yeah, it just happened. I fell in love and I sacrificed like 40 years of livelihood with someone else just because I fell in love. No, this is something regarded as ethically in the writings of Baha'u'llah. Clearly, he says you must not be determined by your emotions, but your reason is determining your emotions. So you have to be in charge. So love must be a reasonable concept. You have to understand, is this person, everyone is worth to be loved, but is this person intimately worth of my love for constituting the holy institution of marriage? This is something you reasonably have to understand and really have to go through. Yeah.
Shahnam Jan Azizam, Shahnam, I'm so sorry. Can you please read your message? Thank you. It was very, thank you. Emergency, thank you.
Okay.
Sorry.
So, beloved friends, now what we really have to keep in mind is that where were we standing? We're speaking like about that love has to be like rationally sound for us, and really has to have to make sense why someone is the object of our adoration and love and attraction. So now, next to that, if we understood this is also a very important concept that we have to keep in mind, then we have to understand one very unique feature in the ethics of Baha'u'llah about family and marriage, which is unique to the ideologies and ideas about love and marriage. Very important. Friends, please turn into an ear for really grasping. This is very, very important, friends. So why, something that we really seldom ask ourselves is, why is family in the ethics of Baha'u'llah expressed or explained as an institution. Why is it a holy institution? What are the institutions of the faith? Is the Board for Hurullah, the Universal House of Justice as the head of the whole world, the national spiritual assemblies, the local spiritual assemblies, and then different other agencies that are designated by the institutions that were meant to be since the Kitab al-Aqdas, the Kitab al-Ahdi, and so on, and the Will and Testament of Abdul Baha. So why is family an institution? This is very important. Why is marriage an institution, constituting an institution? We have to understand this and really understanding what we are doing when we are marrying, who we should choose for marrying. Yeah. This is a very important thing, friends, very important feature. So, beloved friends, family is an institution like Universal House of Justice. The members of the Universal House of Justice are not meeting regularly for the ones who are part of the institution. The Universal House of Justice is having its assembly for all the ones standing outside of the institution. So what does that mean for marriage? That means you are not constituting marriage for you, yourself, and your partner. Marriage is then a Baha'i marriage. Baha'i family is then a Baha'i family if the goal of that family is to foster and promote the welfare, the interests, and the development of all the people who are standing outside of that institution. So we do not believe in the concept of exclusivism in a Baha'i relationship, in the love relationship between a man and a woman. We believe in a concept that man and woman are forming an institution like the National Spiritual Assembly, who is having its assembly for all the ones who are outside of that institution. So it's not a self-purpose to marry just to have married, but by marrying, you are burdened by the responsibility to promulgate and propagate the welfare, the interests, and the common good, and the concerns of all those standing outside of the institution. This is very unique in Baha'u'llah's ethics. That means what? That means actually that the decisions, the goals, the aims of the family have always been in the frame of collective interests, must always be oriented towards the interest of others, social others. Now, beloved friends, we'll get to that point a little bit closer and deeper. We will go deeper into that when we speak about the marriage verse of His Holiness Baha'u'llah in a minute. But the first thing that we really have to keep in mind here is, so far, that, of course, there is an intimacy just shared between husband and wife, as there is a trust between only the members of the specific institution of the Universal House of Justice. So, and they are deciding, they are consulting, and no one else's opinion really can intervene. But still, this intimacy, which is creating the frame of an institution, the institution is never meant for itself. It always have to take into consideration the interests of your neighbors, of the broader family members, of all the ones who one day will cross your path as a couple, a married couple. This is what Baha'u'llah makes the responsibility of any Baha'i who is entering the wedlock. Yeah. So this is something very unique, because we believe in today's society, the sociology of love. You see, one feature of love is that it's always an exclusive relationship. This exclusivism does not exist in that sense that the old world order is understanding it in the frame of the Baha'i context, where marriage, family is understood as an important part and nucleus of the broader society and Baha'u'llah's world order. So also the first institution of his world order. So now, beloved friends, who should someone choose as a partner for his life? Abdul Baha is giving us a very clear guidance. What should be the measure for getting to know somebody? He says, you choose, ideally spoken, the one who is somehow nurturing, fueling your ambition to partake on the divine. Because why? Because this is your destiny. This is the reason you were created. So, of course, friends, now this is very important, where Shori Effendi speaks about this concept of compromises. You only find such a partner if you already have the same worldview. If you are not like that, of course, you won't find somebody who's like that. So this is what Baha'u'llah calls also in the hidden words, that the same entities are attracted to each other. Yeah, You know that from the Arabic hidden word Persian, sorry, Persian hidden word number 10. So now, friends, if always the common things have an intimate attraction to each other, it's clear that if somebody is not on fire for the cause of Baha'u'llah, he won't find someone who's on fire for the cause of Baha'u'llah. This is a natural thing that we have to understand. We can't expect somebody to be like that if we are not like that. So in that sense, there are different measures, different degrees of consciousness, of understanding, and according to different degrees and different levels of understanding, Abdul Baha gave diverse guidance about marriage and family life. Yeah, of course, he was not expecting everyone just like had the chance to get to know the revelation of Baha'u'llah just after he had like established already a marriage and everything, just to like the family to change overnight. He gave them guidance according to what they needed to hear in order to get closer to the next step of family development. So there are different degrees, but if we speak about the in general guidance of Abdul Baha, we have to, for a Baha'i to really enter a Baha'i marriage, then what he says is, if you get to know someone, then he says very clearly, you have to get to know each other very deeply. But he does not say, sometimes this question comes up, how many hours, how many days, how many years? It's not bound to time and space. It is, you can also with one conversation understand. Really, friends, if we're not ta'arufing with each other, you understand with one conversation, 2 conversations, 10 conversations, you understand if someone is really sharing that same view, is on the same dimension, like we said, like you, striving for partaking on the divine or not. If we are honest to ourselves, friends, we understand that with very precise questions, topics that are covered, touched, and exchanged and consulted upon in a conversation together. So this means to get to know somebody deep. It does not mean a specific frame of time. It means you have to ask the right questions or to really make the right topics the object of the conversation in order for understanding someone's mindset and consciousness in this very dimension of spirit and purpose in life. So the first measure we said to get to know someone is someone striving with you to partake on the divine? Is sharing that vision on life with you or not? Or do you see that potential, or is this potential not given? Yeah. So sometimes, friends, not just one thing, not to have a misunderstanding. In brackets, I said this. Sometimes friends say, but this sounds a little bit harsh, but we are not the judger of people. God is the judger of people. Friends, this is a very silly answer to this very measure of Abdul Baha that he says. Why? Because if you are giving a choice for somebody to be elected in a special spiritual assembly, you are also not the judger of his inner consciousness and his inner state. But you have to pass your judgment in your choice by what you see and what the realities that is accessible to you. So, and of course, you can't, and this is very important, friends, where Abdul Baha is warning us. You can't, there's no compromise. You can't pass a judgment on a person upon the future. You can't say, in future, he might turn out to be very, very, very spiritual. What you are going to decide on is the now, is not the future, friends. You can't lie to yourself, but you know, there's one topic we lie to ourselves like none other topic, and this is this topic of marriage. So we can't lie to ourselves and say, I hope he will be in future. He will be great. This is his bad habits right now. In future will be different. Why? Because I want to marry right now. No, friends, you can't pass a judgment on the future. This is even not just to yourself and just to the person, to measure him on a specific expectation that you have. Your measure is the now and what the Baha'i writings say about the now. And if someone is not like that, then give the thing more time. Then more time, then patience is necessary, but entering marriage is actually not recommended. Because marriage, as we understand, as a holy institution, really, as a holy institution, needs the presumption and understanding of the sacredness of that very institution. It's not we let someone sneak into the institution and hope that he will transform in future. Your judgment is on the present, friend. What happens in the future, we all do not have in hands. And this is what Shoghi Effendi says, all of us are responsible for only one life. You are not responsible for other people's lives. You're just responsible for one life, and this is your own life, Shoghi Effendi says. Finally, you have to pass the tests of life by yourself. So this is very important to understand, like the spiritual tests and so on. Your spiritual development comes from yourself, not from somebody else, and cannot be delegated to somebody else, cannot be outsourced to somebody else. This is something you have to do for yourself, and how very important is here. Of course, that the future might hold things in store for all of us that is not to be understood in the present. But again, what you are supposed to give a judgment on if somebody is befitting entering institution or not is not what he can be in future, but what he is right now. This is very important, yeah? So, friends, what is very important here is this. I said like somehow two things. One, that somebody has to accompany us in our the wanted achievement to partake on the divine. But then we said everyone is responsible for only one life. What does that mean? That means this, friends. The spiritual assembly in a city has the responsibility given by the master to create an atmosphere, a spiritual ambiente, where everyone can, in the best way possible, partake on his divine duties and divine responsibilities, fulfill his divine responsibilities. Spiritual assembly cannot fulfill the divine responsibilities for somebody else. Everyone has to do that on his own, but spiritual assembly has to create the atmosphere, the frame for that. Now, family is the same thing. The partners cannot do the obligatory prayer, obviously, for each other, or for the children. But you have to create a household, an atmosphere, where everyone can potentially partake on the best way possible on the opportunity and the possibility to fulfill the spiritual duties and responsibilities. This is what Abdul Baha says. This is classifying a true Baha'i household, where everyone can fulfill his divine duties in the most appropriate manner. And the divine dignity and rights of each and everyone in his connection with God is respected and highly appreciated. So friends, is this possible in every household? Obviously not, friends. So this is something that we have to keep in mind before entering the institution of marriage. Now, this was the measure when we get to know someone. The decision on what should you base your decision, Abdul Baha gives three crucial additional features. Three other features. He says, who should you choose? Someone who is the source of unifying power. Someone from whose essence unifying power emanates. Someone who can build bridges between strangers, and who's, God forbid, not someone who is the means for other people to separate, to have division and so on. So your husband or your wife must be someone who has a unifying power. Why is this so important? Why is this feature so important? Why? Because, as I said, the overall purpose of the Baha'i faith has to be understood. It is what? Baha'u'llah revealed the Baha'i revelation, not for having revealed the Baha'i revelation, but for you. Man is the purpose of Baha'u'llah. Revelation is an instrument. So this is what he says in Loy Mahsud. I created you for yourself. I created everything for you and yourself for yourself. It's very important. So now, the spiritual purpose is to partake on divinity, to become like that, what you understand as God. But what is the social purpose of the Baha'i faith in the immanent world, in the world of time and space, is, of course, to the advancement of civilization, to establish unity of mankind, obviously. So if this is the purpose of the Baha'i faith, and we said coherent life means to see everything in the light of the purpose and never separated from the main purpose, you're always a Baha'i in the question of marriage, in the question of hobbies, arts, everything. You always have this consistent and coherent and continuous identity. That means your identity is to be a servant of the purpose of Baha'u'llah. Then family life has to be regarded in the same light as the overall purpose, which is unity of mankind. So if the family cannot be an emanation of unity, if the husband, the wife cannot build bridges between strangers, making strangers friends, family, if this notion is not given in someone, he can be a good friend, but he can't be your co-worker in the holy institution of family. We should never lie to ourselves on this part. A co-worker in an institution is someone who brings hearts of people together, is a source of unity. Why? Because a Baha'i is not marrying to have married. A Baha'i is marrying because the institution created by Baha'u'llah of the family is part of his world order, and his world order is the frame of unity of mankind. So another point which is very important here, friends, the second concept that Abdul Baha mentions is, now this is very important, friends. This is very challenging, very difficult, but very, very, very sweet and elevating if we are really like see ourselves connected with that very principle. Abdul Baha says, choose a partner who is a lover of truth. That's very important, friends. A lover, we had topics in 2020 about the concept of truth in the Baha'i writings. It's a very, very important topic. We really have to take hours to go into the concept of what is truth, what is verities, what is reality, all these things. But now, just to make it very short here, your partner must be a lover of truth. If this love for truth, interest of truth is not given in a person, again, that person can be a wonderful friend, but it can't be your eternal companion in all the worlds to come. Your lover of truth, to be a lover of truth is an essential, substantial aspect of a sound, healthy relationship in a Baha'i household. So now Abdul Baha then says, he says, generally be a lover of truth, but then he says, what is the truth? So he says to the Baha'i friends, there were some younger friends, Persian friends, who really often asked Abdul Baha for consent in their decision to marry to a partner. And Abdul Baha, to one of them, Nur Mahal Khanum was that, who married to one of the very, very steadfast and faithful believers in the time when Abdul Baha was in America. He says very interestingly, it must have been in Great Britain. Abdul Baha says very interesting. He says, choose a partner who loves Baha'u'llah more than you. So this is, as a Baha'i, the true measure for a partnership, friends. I'm very sorry if things that we hear today is challenging. I was really somehow afraid that might sound a little bit too harsh and challenging, but this is really the truth that we are confronted with in the writings. And there is no compromise with perfection, with excellence. So what Abdul Baha says, choose a partner who loves Baha'u'llah more than he loves you. It's very important. It's very, very, very important. Because why? Because your partner is not yours. The partner is a mamluk of Jamal Mubarak, is a servant of Baha'u'llah, is a creation of Baha'u'llah, as the primal will, the creator of the universe. So if the partner is in the hands of Baha'u'llah, he's responsible to Baha'u'llah, not to you. Wherever this understanding exists, believe me, Baha'i family life will be harmonious. Wherever we do not understand this and come from the somehow very, very, very old fashions of understanding of the Orient or other places in the world, where we believe that our partner is ours and there is a specific division of roles, particular divisions in a household. This is not really in coherence with the Baha'i ethics and the Baha'i household, where the first thing that we really have to understand is that the partners are not responsible to each other. They do not belong each other. They're not a possession of each other, but they're equal members of the institution. It's like in the universal laws of justice. No one is superior than the other one in the universal laws of justice. There is no one having a veto on somebody else. There's no one having more to say than somebody else in an institution. We understand this wherever sometimes we do not even understand that, but we understand this if we speak about Baha'i institutions, that consultation means we are equal. Doesn't matter if someone is long-term Baha'i, just shortly declared. Doesn't matter like how much is somebody. No, it's consultation where every voice is equal. We understand that sometimes in the concept of the institutions of the faith, but very difficult to understand this and to project that on our life and family. But this is something very important that we have to keep in mind, friends. Now, I give you another example about the concept of love, marriage, and partnership, choosing a partner, and then also the concept of being separated from a partner and so on. Abdul Baha, was asked time and again also, different Baha'i women also asked him, sometimes also Baha'i men, Shor Effendi, for example, also, but many times when Abdul Baha was in America and seeing the handmaidens of God, they asked him about, like, is this relationship that they have, is this a healthy relationship? Should they carry on this relationship, or as it seems to be toxic, this relationship, or should they just abandon that relationship? You see, Julia Thompson asked something like this of Abdul Baha and other believers as well. But Abdul Baha is never saying, do this or do that. Separate, not separate. Of course, the Baha'i faith is the faith of maturity, of empowerment, of reason, and everyone has to come to an understanding by himself. Of course, this is what Abdul Baha really, also in the case of other questions when he was asked, he gives his answer, but makes it at the end dependent on the striving of your reason and mind to come to a conclusion. For example, as an example, random example, where he explains in the Some Answer Questions the story of Adam and Eve. He gives us an explanation, and in the end says, in my opinion, this is the most important part in Some Answer Questions. Abdul Baha says, this was but one interpretation of Adam and Eve. Contemplate, maybe you come to other conclusions as well. So interpreter of the writing makes the interpretation of truth dependent on your ability. So with marriage, the same. He does not say separate or do not separate. He gives Julia Thompson and other handmaidens of God an overall frame to come to a conclusion. He says this. He says, everything in the world of being tends to sacrifice himself or hers. Everything sacrifices itself for a higher ontological station. This is not even something you can choose. You are determined by your nature. Everything in the world of being is trying to be adapted to the higher ontological level of existence. The theological levels that Aristotle is speaking about also existing in the Baha'i writings, the mineral realm, the plant realm, and so on, the animal realm. Everything is striving for a higher thing and is sacrificing itself in the right channel to be adapted to a higher existential form. Then Abdul Baha says this. You see, he's speaking about marriage, but he comes with such an example, which is highly philosophical. He says then, man also tends naturally, but different than the other not vivified realities in the world of being, who are doing this without consciousness. Man is consciously or subconsciously also striving to sacrifice himself for a higher reality. So man is sacrificing himself for his work. He lives for his work. Everyone, Abdul Baha says, is a worshipper. If you want or not, you're a worshipper of what? Of money, of your work, of your hobbies, of your arts, of your children. Someone is always, any one of us is worshiping something. Yeah, except of God, instead of God, maybe something else for what you're ready to sacrifice yourself and to really become sick and everything. Yeah, Abdul Baha says some people do that for other human beings in a partnership. A wife sacrificing herself for a husband who has a lack of good manners, but he's sacrificing. He says, I have to endure that, bear that. One day he will change himself, maybe. Man is doing the same for the wife sometimes. So Abdul Baha says, this is wrong. You are not meant to sacrifice yourself for each other. The right channel for sacrifice, healthy sacrifice, is towards the divine, which is the higher ontological station of man. You can't sacrifice yourself for the things of this world, and even not for your partner. Your partner is meant to be another wing of yours to soar higher in the divine realm, not to become a challenge for you to become the best version of yourself. So you see, this too much dependence on the partner is ethically in the Baha'i writings not regarded as healthy. This does not mean, God forbid, you should not love your partner with all your being and every atom of your essence. But what we speak about is dependence. Sometimes women also treated bad, but can't find an exit in that very unhealthy relationship. So you see, dependence is, you should not be dependent on anything else except Baha'u'llah, Abdul Baha says. Pray to be detached from everything, but attached to the well-pleasure of the most beloved. So you see, friends, this is very, very crucial. Very crucial. Now, another point, which is very important here, is Abdul Baha says, you should really not sacrifice yourself for a relationship, but the relationship must be a means to a higher purpose, which is to help each other to get closer to the divine. Each one by himself, with his own free will, but be wings for each other, like members in the institution, accompany each other. Yeah? Like a tutor and a co-tutor, for example, of a Ruikos, yeah, whatever. But I mean, this accompanionship is very important in the Baha'i faith. Empowerment and companionship. So now, the next thing, next to these 2 points I mentioned, being a power of unity, a source of unity, and another point which was actually a lover of truth. Now, this is the 3rd point that Abdul Baha mentions for making a choice on the partner, which is, come to the consciousness, enter the state of mind that you are not choosing a partner, but you are choosing a father and a mother. So Abdul Baha says, choose the one who you think is an exceptional role model, a heroic role model for your children. So you are not choosing just a partner. You do that, but the functionality of the partner changes in the definition of the Baha'i faith. You have to choose an heroic dawnbreaker of the faith for being a solid stone and rock for the generation to come. To lean on him, to take him as an example, and to soar higher and higher in life. So your partner must be an exceptional role model for your son and your daughter, the future son and daughter. The wife, the same. So you choose not just a partner, you choose the role model of your future children. This is something very important. So why is Abdul Baha mentioning this now? Abdul Baha mentions that because of that very important verse in the Kitab al-Aqdas where it says that you should enter the wedlock or should marry. That this is one of the recommendations of this faith, differently than in the past, where it also in Christianity and the European tradition was regarded somehow negatively or something like this, something which is bound to flesh, sin, material pursuit and everything. So Baha'u'llah says this is something holy, it's a highly extolled recommendation. Now, very important here, he says, enter the wedlock, the marriage, in order for a fruit to come forth from you, which is, of course, the children, who is mentioning me, remembering me amongst creation. So Baha'u'llah is saying what? With this paraphrased verse from the Kitab that I just summed up. With this, Baha'u'llah is giving us the purpose of marriage is what? Marriage is a purpose. It's not just a notion. I want to marry, not to be lonely anymore, and then I marry. This is the greatest mistake. Again, Abdul Baha is saying this in a very loving tone, but it makes clear if someone is feeling lonely and wants to marry, he will be also lonely after a time in a company with another partner. So this is never to be allowed to be our decisive focal point on marrying, yeah, because I feel lonely and so. It's very important to understand this, friends. You have to work on yourself daily because you strive to become perfect and want the well pleasure of Baha'u'llah. And by time you will also enter marriage. You see, you already have to start and accelerate your own divinization process, spiritualization process. And then next to that comes in addition, as a supportive frame, comes family. But it's not, you are on your own, nothing, and then you marry to become something. If you are nothing without the family, you will be nothing in family. And your children will have someone as a role model who is in nothing and has challenges and problems and with himself that he did not solve during his own youth and adulthood. So friends, sorry to say it like it is, like I said, but it's very important to understand you can't possibly put your burden on the next generation. This is not fair, friends. Someone cannot think that if he marries and has children, he have a complete life. You have to have your complete life, which lies in the ambition for spirituality, and then comes by time family. Friends, this is something that's very important. Now, Baha'u'llah says then, coming back to the Kitab al-Aqdas verse, Baha'u'llah says, what is family? He says, you should marry with a purpose. And the purpose is what? To promulgate spiritual norms to the future generations. So this is, first of all, very important. I don't want to say the fruit of marriage is necessarily a child that you get as a marriage partner. We tend to say this. Shor Effendi also says this, but it has a context. First of all, generally speaking, marriage has a purpose, which is to promulgate the interests of society, of the social others, especially by raising the next generations in order to become better human beings and pillars of society. So naturally, this starts by educating your child. This is why Baha'u'llah says, marry that one, bring forth amongst you, who's like, we come to the continuation of the sentence in a second, but this fruit naturally is your child. But Shor Effendi says very clearly in a letter, if a wife cannot give birth to a child, husband is not allowed to divorce her, how it was in the past understandings of some branches of Islam and so on. So this is not allowed, because Shor Effendi says you can fulfill that purpose of marriage still by not having your own child by blood. That means, this is why Baha'u'llah says in the Lower Eshraghat, Eshragh number 7, Kitab al-Aqdas, the same. He says, whoever educates a child of someone else is as if he has educated one of my own son, one of my own sons. The reward for educating another one's child is the same as if you have taken care of Abdul Baha, Mirza Mehdi. Baha'u'llah says this. He says, as if you have raised one of my children, one of my sons. So be active in junior youth groups as a married couple without having children, or giving attention to the neighbor child in a Baha'i community to really care for the child of somebody else's family. This is also highly valuable in the sight of God. So now the next point, first of all, marriage has a purpose, which is promulgating the interests of the next generation, because next generation is the essence of the world. I could also say to promulgate the welfare of the world, but the next generation makes it very, very more accessible to understand what we are doing. We are doing it. We try to transform the world, and transformation by the world means educating or transmitting moral priorities and values to the new generations, because as Abdul Baha explains in The Secret of Divine Civilization, civilization is the outer expression of culture. Culture is the soul of society, and culture itself is defined by Abdul Baha as the sum of priorized moral values. So this is what a family has to do with their own child, or if they do not have their own child, they have to invest themselves, they have to engage themselves in the process of transmitting moral values to the next generation. So now this is the purpose. Now it goes on. So what is the purpose of education? Because sometimes you say, yeah, okay, our partner that I chose, he also says, he speaks highly about education. He loves pedagogy, and he says the child should be educated in the best manner. But Baha'u'llah does not say this is a random education. He gives a purpose to the education. He does not say, and educate your child. He says, first of all, marriage has a purpose. It is the education of children. Then he goes on, and what is the purpose of education? Education, again, is not abstract, has a purpose. The purpose is that that child becomes a servant, a mubaligh, a mouthpiece of the cause of Baha'u'llah. Because Baha'u'llah clearly says that one of you amongst you, will spring forth amongst you, is remembering me amongst mankind. So the one that you educate, it has clearly a direction, that education. It's not, you have a non-Baha'i partner, you are a Baha'i, and they say, so let us meet somewhere in the middle. Some ethical concepts randomly that we come up with. Yeah. No, education has a frame in the Baha'i faith. It says you would do unjust to your child if you are not helping him to understand the cause of Baha'u'llah, if you are the cause for him to be bereft, or if your partnership is so it's for the child to be bereft of the divine purpose in his life, which is the recognition of Baha'u'llah. So, friends, you are never choosing a partner for yourself. It's not just your arbitrary choice. It's always directed to the future generations and always to others as well. So, friends, this is very important. Education has a direction and means to raise someone who is a servant of the purpose of Baha'u'llah and the cause of Baha'u'llah. So this is very important to have here in mind. Now let's get to the final, to get to the marriage verse. We just have 25 minutes, 30 minutes left, something like this. Let's get to the marriage verse, which is actually the main point of that very talk that we're going to have. But before we do that, one more sentence, friends. One more sentence for our frame of thinking. I said it before. I said it again. I say it again. The preparation of marriage is not when you got to know somebody. You got to know somebody, and now you start suddenly. Yeah, we know how the young people sometimes are. Suddenly they order all the books on marriage, compilations, quotes, experiences of others from the Baha'i publishment just to be prepared for marriage. Friends, this is absolutely wrong. This is absolutely wrong, absolutely separated for the coherent thing that Baha'u'llah wants for your life. Your preparation for marriage is not you have got to know somebody that you're intensively dating also, in brackets, and then suddenly you are making a decision you should marry or not, and you actually already made your mind you want to marry, and now you suddenly read the writings in order to legitimize that thought of yours, the decision of yours. So this is not really preparation for marriage, friends. I'm saying this because we all experience something like this in our environment and in the community. It's very important to understand this point now. Preparation of marriage is far before you have the idea of marrying. Preparation of marriage is every day you strive to live a full Baha'i life. Every day you try to live as a loyal servant of Baha'u'llah. You read your writings daily, you pray daily, you say your obligatory prayer, you fast, you try to be a good human being, you serve the cause. This is not just preparation for marriage, this is preparation for being a good parent, this is preparation for being a good neighbor, this is preparation for being a good child, this is preparation of being a good everything. So this is what we call coherent life. Your preparation of marriage is not suddenly you fell in love with someone and now you start insanely reading day and night just quotes on marriage. Your preparation for marriage starts way before you get the idea of marriage, by every day striving to become the best version of yourself. Why? Because you want to attain the well-pleasure of Baha'u'llah. So this is actually the real preparation. It means to every day live according to the principles of Baha'u'llah's faith, ethical principles, his laws and commandments, and really try to live a full Baha'i life. So now to understand this, friends. Yeah, this was for in that thing that we have to really a priori make ourselves familiar with the concept of marriage, and not as a separate topic. Marriage in the end is like any other topic, life after death, whatever, like teaching the cause, service, institute process, or why we are engaging in the institute process, or the topic of reading the Kitab. Everything stands and falls with the same hermeneutics, which is the universal purpose of Baha'u'llah, that he revealed his revelation for man to become the best version of himself, to attain divinity, to partake on the divine, which lies potentially hidden in you. So now, coming to the verse, verily we all abide by the will of God. First of all, this verse, which is in original Arabic, of course, and in the Kitab al-Aqdas, and is the cornerstone of getting married, is translated by Shori Effendi into the English, and with a little differentiation from the original Arabic. But Shori Effendi is not just translating it, but as the capacity, as the interpreter of writing, in translating it as verily we all abide by the will of God. Friends, do not be surprised if I tell you, unfortunately, we do not have so much time anymore left, 20 minutes, 25 minutes maybe. But friends, in this verse of Baha'u'llah, the whole Baha'i revelation is intoned. The whole Baha'u'llah himself says this in the tablet of marriage. He says that, which is actually just accessible in Arabic so far, but he says everything in his revelation is summed up in this verse. Why? Now listen closely, friends. We have to separate this verse into different aspects as much as we have time tonight. So first of all, Shori Effendi is adding this concept of verily to that in that sentence. Verily, we all abide by the will of God. We speak about the verily, the we all, will of God, and abide. Yeah, verily means obviously you have to be absolutely sincere and honest to yourself and to your partner. And the one who's speaking that verse, it is not a formality. Someone just wants to marry to a Baha'i wife, and just to please the Baha'i wife and her family, he says, okay, whatever, I do not believe in God and in Baha'u'llah and in this everything. I just said this verse, just to have said it and just to enter the marriage. This verse is a holy verse, friends. Someone who's not wholeheartedly believing in the words he's speaking should not really partake on that holy bond and that holy covenant of marriage. Because what are you doing there? If you know your partner is not believing that verse, who do you want to like put a hat on? On yourself, on the community, on your parents who gave the consent by you convincing them, oh, my partner is saying this verse finally, just as you want. Or do you want to fool God with that? Of course, if you're standing in the presence of God with that holy covenant that you're building, if someone is not wholeheartedly believing that verse, what are you doing there at that moment speaking that verse? Friends, we really must be ashamed of ourselves speaking that verse in the presence of Baha'u'llah and not wholeheartedly knowing that me and my partner, as much as our capacity allows, are believing in the words that we're speaking there. Friends, this is from the Kitab al-Aqdas. We're not just saying random words, God forbid. So this is something very important. The Shori Effendi makes clear here with the translation of his edition. The verily means you really have to be sincere to yourself what you're doing at that moment. And you can't check this up before you marry and you just tell the formalities, by the way, we have to have the consent of parents, then we have to say that verse, and then we are married. This is something that you beforehand prepare yourself and the partner by. This is not just a verse you say, this is the measure This is not the measure. This is not the verse you say to enter marriage. Baha'u'llah revealed that verse for you to test yourself and the partner that is with you. Is he still the one that you really wanted to marry? But we just said randomly as a formality. It's not formal, it's the measure. It says, first of all, so verily, very important, you have to be sincere to yourself. Then, we all. What is this we all? Why is Baha'u'llah, in Arabic, you can express things for a singular person. You can express something in Arabic grammar for unspecific number of people, like plural, like in every language. But you can also say something for a dualism. You can express easily that two people are meant in a concept, yeah? So, and Baha'u'llah sometimes does this when he speaks about his successorship. He adds the ending of that there will be two successors, for example, yeah? But in that very verse now, it's exemplary interesting. In this Arabic verse for this, verily we all abide by the will of God, Baha'u'llah is not using a term, was not expressing in a way that two people are meant. He's speaking about kullun, which means is unspecific number of people. Unspecific number can be like an innumerous plurality, yeah? Why is Baha'u'llah something intimate, like in such an intimacy, like a man and a wife are in love with each other, they are marrying together, two people, it's just about two. Why is Baha'u'llah using the term kullun? If you do not understand this, you will never understand the importance of marriage in the Baha'i ethics. Baha'u'llah speaks about kullun just in 3 cases. In this prayer for children, who are the devotional for birth name giving to a child, where this verse is repeated. Then the namaz made, like the one for the ones who departed, the prayer, obligatory prayer for the departed ones. The verses that are repeated are in kullun. And the only other prayer that is so ritualized in that way, or verse, is for the occasion of marriage. Why is Baha'u'llah using the kullun form here? Why? We all, not just you and me, wife, husband, kullun, everyone. We don't know, innumerous people. Why? Because this goes back what I said about the institution. This is that you are at that very moment testifying with your partner that your purpose in life is to promulgate the welfare of innumerous people who are going to cross your path as a family. This is the extension families of husband and wife, the unborn children. But what are you testifying with this kullun? You are testifying that me and you, wife, we are promising to God that we will make use of our life to let others partake on the divine will. We become the means for others also to abide by the will of God. It is this reason why you say we all abide by the will of God. Means you and your wife strive to become the means for other human beings in the world who do not know about the Creator and about the manifestation of this time to abide by the will of God. You try to become a means for that. This is the constitutional aspect of your marriage life. You choose a partner who's striving with you to let others abide by the will of God. Why? Because you are striving to convince them, to guide them, to accompany them, to reach that final goal of their life. This is the reason why kullun. It is your children, the extended families, your neighbors, wherever you live and whoever crosses the path of that institution. It is like someone coming to a spiritual assembly. No one in the spiritual assembly is just abandoned. You always consult about the welfare of the ones who came to the spiritual assembly. Whoever is entering in interaction with that married couple, it is his given right by Baha'u'llah that he has to profit from that love of two people. Me and my wife are not for ourselves. Other people have the right given by Baha'u'llah to profit from the fruit of our love. The love of two partners, others have to see an advantage of that. This is what I meant. This is why the Baha'i faith is a marriage is institution. It's not something exclusive. Others have to gain something of you marrying someone else. This is revolutionary, friends. Revolutionary. Other people, what? They have to gain something when I'm in love with somebody else? Yes. Because this is the spirit of the ethics of Baha'u'llah and every branch of his laws. the collective interest, that the individual reaches divinity by giving himself up for the collective, for others. So this is why how Abdul-Baha is describing service. He says, we have so many different explanations of service, but the real definition of service by Abdul-Baha is this. Service is you to become the intellectual, moral, or physical means for someone's growth. This is service. In every form it wants to express itself. So now, coming back to the topic, we spoke about that. Verily, we spoke about what is the will of God. So will of God is not something random. You say, we all feel somehow esoterically the will of God. Will of God, the Mashiatullah, is something that Baha'u'llah in the first paragraph of Kitab Aqdas is making clear. Mashiatullah is the manifestation of God. So it's not a random will of God. If you say we all abide by the will of God, means you and me, partner, don't forget, this is our contract, divine covenant with Baha'u'llah, that he is giving us his consent for our marriage, and regarding our marriage as an institution, divine institution, it is only if we try to follow his laws, if we abide his will. He is the will of God. His will is expressed by laws. If we live up to that laws and principles and norms, this is abiding. This is the aspect of abide by the will of God. It means live up to the laws together, create a frame in your household that everyone can have the privilege of living to his spiritual duties. And the will of God obviously is the manifestation of God. So you see, suddenly this verse is not so abstract anymore. It is very practical. It's a measure for helping us, guiding us, especially in this disillusioned time of, where we are the generation of twilight, how Shor Effendi says that, There's so many notions and influences in this old world, and measures and standards, and then we have this standard here. So this verse should be a guideline for us. Now, I really wanted to talk more about this aspect, about what is now intimacy, and what is now this aspect of institution, because you see, but I want to have some time, also 10 minutes at least, for the last point of our talk tonight, and it's about the concept of family. We spoke about marriage, but what is family? And before we come to that, just one more thing. You see, when Shor Effendi, now this is very interesting, Shor Effendi wrote love letters to Martha Root. You can read them in Gohari Yekta, which is the priceless pearl. Sorry. In Priceless Pearl, you read that some of Shor Effendi's letters to Martha Root. He really loved and adored her in a spiritual sense. It's very important. You see, so, what does that show to us? Love is not something limited, exclusive. Love is a divine attribute you have to express to all your fellow human beings, to all the women in your community, to all the men in your community. Doesn't matter which gender you are yourself, and all these things. This is, of course, framed by the concept of chastity, where chastity is not given, and sometimes subconscious notions, thoughts can occur that are very heavy or burdensome for a true friendship. But actually, love for another woman, although you are married, or for another man although you married to a husband, is actually something that ethically is not wrong. Love as a divine attribute has to express itself everywhere in your life. It is something that emanates from you omnipresently, all the time. So this is like, for example, Shor Effendi loved so many handmaidens of God because of the service, the spirituality, the qualities, and everything. The love that we sometimes see as an exclusive thing with the institution is, of course, this is another aspect of the love, is another way of expressing that love, and has something to do with the functionality of the family. And there comes the exclusive aspect of intimacy, and framed by the concept, the holy concept of chastity and everything. But love as a universal divine attribute, you have to express that to everyone, to people older than you, younger than you, to all the people in the world. You have to, of course, have some bonds of love. The love to your fellow companion in your institution is a specific, deeper form of that very love, and fulfills yet another function which is exclusive. So there is where you say, for example, it's an institution. An institution means, of course, you are serving the welfare of others, but there is a clear line of exclusive intimacy that others have to respect. This is very important, for instance, this. What should we take as one of the points for our all-day life, married, not married? What should we understand from tonight is this, before we come to the concept of family. We have a duty really to respect the borders and the limits of the holy institution of a family. No one should become the cause of that intervenes somehow in a relationship of a husband and a wife to cause, God forbid, problems or something like this, misunderstandings. This is like someone like wanting just to intervene into the holy institution of the universal laws of justice as a 10th member, or in a local spiritual assembly, just randomly. So what is the duty of the ones who are not in that very marriage, and their interests must be served by the married couple? But what should the ones outside of that institution do for the institution? They have to do everything for a fresh and young new married couple to support them. The local assembly, Abdul Baha also says, wherever a married couple is living in that community, or people are marrying in that community, the local spiritual assembly has the aim not just to administratively say, okay, they're married, and then you just like sign that, and then that goes to the national spiritual. The local spiritual assembly has the duty of accompanionship of that young marriage, as anyone else in the community has. The children in the community are not just the children of the married couple. They are the treasure of the community in general. Yeah? The married couple as parents have a specific functionality as parents, but they are the children of all in the community. The married couple, all of us have to support this institution. I'm not part of that institution, maybe. I'm single, maybe, but still I have to root for the married couple and have to do everything I can to take the burden of this new responsibility of theirs away from them. So this is very important. So there is a clear line of intimacy, but still having friendship to all genders in all ages is still something ethically okay in the Baha'i faith. So you see, we do not believe in the concept someone is now engaged to someone and he should like break up the bonds to his former friends he had or something like this. We do not believe in something like this that we sometimes see in society and these notions and so on. We really, really have to understand that the institution as such has to be respected, and each member of that institution, as long as like fulfilling as long as moving in the frame of Baha'u'llah's ethics, he in his individuality and his life that he has also has to be respected by the co-member of that very institution. So you see, for example, I mentioned the example of Shori Effendi to show you what? Show you that Shori Effendi, of course, was invested in a relationship, intimate relationship to Ruya Khanum. But Ruya Khanum in the Priceless Pearl never says, God forbid for a high station, that she had a strange feeling with Shori Effendi was also like praising other women in the community or such thing, something like this. You see what I mean? Abdul Baha Munira Khanum herself is explaining. Abdul Baha was, when he was with her, she says, she's quoting the verse from the Quran, Surah Luqman, verse 27, which says, if all the pens in the trees in the world become pens, all the oceans in the world become ink, the words of God are infinite. Munira Khanum says, according to that verse, if all the trees in the world become pen, all the oceans ink, the love that Abdul Baha showed to me and how specially he was treating me would still be infinite to describe. But still, she says, whenever they were together in the company of other believers, Abdul Baha was never exclusive to Munira Khanum. This is something very interesting, friends. You see, about the mature companionship, marriage, and the responsibility of the married couple towards other people in the community and in society. So now, the final thing is family life. Family life, the last 6-7 minutes that we have, that I want to mention is this, the point. Just quickly, because it seems to me very important, and it would not be befitting to end our session without having mentioned the ethics of family in a broader sense, not just marriage. What is family in the Baha'i faith? Baha'u'llah is explaining, is calling family. Now listen closely, friends. This is the final phase of our talk tonight. Family is the mirror of truth. What does that mean? Why is family the mirror of truth? Because Baha'u'llah explains, only in the family, as a mirror in which you see yourself reflected, you see who you really are. If you are a liar, if you're lying in the family, you're a liar. Although you are the best version of yourself in 19-day feast, in your work, when you're visiting someone with your friends, other people, social actors, only see fragments of your essence as a human being. It's very easy to be the best version of yourself when you're with others just for a specific amount of time. With your family, you show who you really are. If you're impatient in family, you're an impatient person. If you are a selfish person in the family, then you are a selfish person in general. It doesn't matter how unselfish you are in the community. If you're selfish in family, believe me that you are a selfish person. And you really have to overcome that habit. So this is, family is a mirror of truth, Baha'u'llah says, because you see who you really are in a frame with people who love you unconditionally and know about your weaknesses. They know about your weaknesses from the beginning with, from your past, before you did that spiritual transformation, whatever. So now, point is this. Family is a frame on working on yourself. That means what? By seeing your weaknesses in the family, you have the frame to really consciously work on your weaknesses to attain your divine destiny, with which I started my talk, to partake on divinity. So what does that mean, to partake on divinity? What has family to do with that? To partake on divinity, of course, the stations will never be taken away, the hierarchy of stations ontologically, that you and God become one. When we speak about God, we know God by attributes. The sum of that attributes is perfection. When these attributes are expressed in your daily life, that means you attained that what you called God. Baha'u'llah in the Gleanings, chapter 1 in the Gleanings, says something very important. Whatever God has made a duty for man to glorify him, to worship him, is just a sign, is a token of his mercy for man to attain the station of his own true self, the station of understanding himself. So whatever you say about God is not God. It's not even Baha'u'llah, because Baha'u'llah is the source from which the attributes emanate. Whatever attributes you speak direct to God, it's in reality the divine potential of yours. It's your divine potential. So in family, for example, how do you develop these qualities? By service. It's not possible except through service. Shorifani says this: the more you look for yourself, the less likely you will find yourself. The more you look for God, and now he says what means looking for God. The more you look for God and serve the welfare of your fellow human beings, the more you will be acquainted with your true self. So service, this is the reason why service is worship, but asceticism, dervishism, and all these things are taken away in the Baha'i faith, are rejected. Because why? Because if you're for yourself, you can never really develop that qualities. That is a law in the world of being, that these qualities just in interaction with others show themselves. You do not know how patient you are if this patience is not tested in your interaction with others. You do not know how loving, how caring, how forgiving you are if this is not expressed if mirrored forth in their interaction with others. So service, of course, is the way to develop. So this is clear. This is a topic for itself. But coming to family now. In family, you are confronted with your weaknesses. You see how much of these qualities you really have, because there you can't fake anything anymore. You can't fake 24 hours with your wife or husband, with your children. You can't fake your true self. You see who you really are, if you want or not. You can't take your eyes away from that mirror. This is why family is a mirror of truth. So if you see what you are, now consciously strive to change your habits and strive to become a better version of yourself. So in that same sense, family is a mirror of truth and is a platform for your development. And this is why Baha'u'llah highly recommended entering the concept of marriage, made it a law of his dispensation to marry and to create a family, because it fulfills so many different purposes that we just today mentioned 5, 6, 7, 8 mystical, practical purposes. But last thing, friends, Shor Effendi makes something clear. You can also fulfill the purpose of your life without marrying. What does that mean? If you can, marry. Do not be like the ones that say, I go to a monastery, I want to be for myself. I'm stressed out with others, I'm for myself. This is a wrong reason for not marrying, yeah, of course. But what is very important here is this. Shor Effendi makes something clear. You can also fulfill your life purpose if you're not married. And what this tells us, again, what the purpose of marriage is. Marriage is a functionality, is a functional space, is an institution, is a space in which you are to be supported or to find the best possible opportunity to work on yourself, to work into society, to become the best version of yourself, and to serve the interests of society by raising a child, by being a role model for other couples, for other families, and so on. So it is something like, of course, if somebody can serve in an assembly, he should always serve and should never reject being elected or designated in this assembly. But if he's not in that assembly, he can still fulfill his life purpose. Life purpose means what? Means perfection created you as imperfection to become like the perfect. An effective way for that is family, because of the reasons that I just mentioned. This is the reason why Baha'u'llah highly recommends this and elevates to the rank of a law. But we should not think that if we were not fortunate to meet the one who can live up to that measure, we should just randomly marry someone, because randomly marrying someone would be better than not to marry at all. Friends, do not come to such wrong conclusions, because this is not the aim of the Baha'i ethics. Yeah? There is a specific measure of marrying, and if you can't find someone in your environment, unfortunately, so far, or because of the chance of life and everything, then this does not mean you should destroy your life and your future children's life by having made a wrong decision, not just only to have married. Yeah. So this is why Shaykh Effendi says you can also fulfill a Baha'i life without having married. Last point is, friends, we do not believe in the concept of soulmates, as Abdul Baha makes it clear. We do not believe that there's only one person that was from the world eternally destined, just you to marry him. And if you do not meet him, or at one moment you mess up something, this was your last chance to marry. Abdul Baha says about soulmates: live with your partner as if it is, as if you were meant to be with each other since time immemorial, and you are soulmates. Live as soulmates, become like soulmates. But we do not believe in the concept of soulmates where love is irrational and all these things that we mentioned just today, which are framing love in absolute frame of rationality, are to be taken into consideration. Abdul Baha says this. He says the aim of marriage is you have to serve the welfare of others by what? Two things. One, raising a child who is a servant of the cause of Baha'u'llah and a promoter of the peace and unity in the world. Second, how can you still, also without a child or before a child, or also if the child is grown up, how can you still be an active service to the society next to serving the activities and everything, but just as being a married couple? How? By, Abdul Baha says, by living in a way that others take your life as an example for themselves. Thank you very much, friends. I really enjoyed your company, and I'm looking forward for our next meeting. Thank you very much to all the friends for their patience and that they stayed so long. And thank you very much again to the wonderful handmaidens, Rina, Roya, Samha, and Mariam. Thank you very much for your love, friends.
Thank you, dearest Shahnam. On behalf of the 389 participants that I can see on Zoom and many more on YouTube and Instagram, I would like to thank you for your always revolutionary, fresh, and enlightened perspective on Baha'i topics that are so crucial for us all to understand. As you were speaking, I was thinking about how to thank you, because I listened to your talks in Farsi as well, and I'd like to thank you for making yourself available to the English-speaking friends as well. And you know, I thought of the way your talks have affected me, and I believe that they expand your mind, and then your heart and your soul follows, and that is how you make spiritual progress. So thank you so much, dearest Shahnam, for being an instrument of all of our spiritual progress today and in the future. And we hope to see you again very soon. Thank you so much for your time and for your energy and for sharing yourself with us so selflessly. Thank you.
That's so nice and kind of you. Thank you very much, dearest sister in spirit. And thank you very much to all the friends for the encouragement and love. Thank you very much, friends.
So now we are going on to the next section, and Jack, if Jack is there, if Jack can give me a sign of life.
Woo, yes, Mr. Jack.
Jack, Allah Apa, Jack Lenz. Jack needs no introduction from me, but as a Canadian, I know we're all one, humanity is one, the world is one, but allow me to say today that as a Canadian, I'm extremely proud to be able to introduce Mr. Jack Lenz, a Canadian and world-renowned musical artist and composer who I personally have had the privilege of being able to listen to from my childhood. And so I'm so happy to be able to see him today. Jack has always given so generously and enthusiastically of his time and his talent to the Baha'i community. I'd like to point out that Jack is in fact finishing up a 3-year project entitled The Baha'i Feasts and Holy Days Songbook, which will be completed in February of 2021, and is going to be an incredible resource for Baha'i communities everywhere, because there's going to be a song for every feast and holy day included in this songbook. So this is going to be an incredible resource. And it's personally, it's down to Jack that I know all the months of the Baha'i calendar in Arabic. So thank you, Jack, for that. My mother and I thank you. Yes, so without further ado, I'm very proud, very honored to introduce our great musical guest, Mr. Jack Lenz.
Thank you very much, Mariam. That's a very, very kind introduction. And I should tell you that it's always been a great pleasure to write songs for the Baha'i community and for the Baha'i friends. They're the best, you all and all the Baha'is are really the best audience in the world, because you're so forgiving. And so I always want to qualify that I've never really been a singer, but I really sort of had to sing because I had to teach my kids these songs about the months and about the prophets and all these kind of list songs that I did. And I really feel so honored to be a part of an event like this. I have to tell Shahnam, thank you so much for your very inspiring talk. I think it's so valuable to have these insights given to us all, especially about the institution of family and marriage and family life. It's just really significant, and it always, as Mariam was saying, it always expands my thinking about these very important Baha'i ideals, and they are ideals. They're things that we would like to achieve. I wanted to start with a song that I wrote about a story about Abdul Baha that really was always so inspiring to me. I hope that all of you will get a chance to visit the Shrine of Abdul Baha in Montreal, Quebec, in Canada. Obviously, it's hard to visit anywhere right now, but it really is an extraordinary place. It's the home that Sutherland Maxwell built, who was eventually a hand of the cause, and his wife, May Maxwell, who is also a profound teacher of the faith in Canada and eventually ended up in South America. But they raised this wonderful daughter, Rahia Hanum, Mary Maxwell, who became Rahia Hanum and the wife of the beloved guardian. And there's a story that when you walk up the stairs to the second floor in the Maxwell home in what is now the Shrine of Abdul Baha in Montreal, there's a landing. And when you get to that landing, there's a little window, and it's a kind of a small window, but it's got not stained glass in it, but those little kind of lead panels. And it's like the kind of window that they would have made in that time in the early 1900s. And when you look at it, it's really seems like such a simple thing, that there's this little window that you can look out onto the world, because the house is kind of up on the side of a mountain. And every day, apparently, while Abdul Baha was staying there, he would go and he would stand and he would look out that little window. So May Maxwell asked him one day, she said, "Master, what are you doing when you're looking out the window?" And it's just the answer is always really inspiring to me and I know to you. He said, "I am calling the souls to my Father's cause." And I thought, what an extraordinary thing that we have as our master, as our perfect exemplar, this being who knew the needs and condition of every soul. and would address those needs. And everyone who met him experienced that. And so I thought, you know, all of us here probably were called by Abdu'l-Baha to the cause of Baha'u'llah. The call, I hear the call. 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 I hear the angels singing. I hear the great bells ringing. I hear the angels singing. I hear the great bells ringing. The call, I hear the call. 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 Abdu'l-Baha stands by the window, calling the souls to his father's cause, calling the souls, calling them forward, calling the souls to his father's cause. The call, I hear the call. 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 Abdu'l-Baha stands near the window, calling the souls to his father's cause, calling the souls, calling them forward, calling the souls to his father's cause. The call, I hear the call. 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 I hear the angels singing. I hear the great bells ringing. I hear the angels singing. I hear the great bells ringing. The call, I hear the call. The call, I hear the call. The call, I hear the call. The call. The thing that I love about Zoom is when you try to communicate in this form, you're just literally in the room by yourself. And so there's I can't hear your voices. I can hear Mariam's voice, but I would love to be able to be through this this pandemic and be able to be in a room with the friends again. Yes, that would be beautiful for all of us. I wanted to tell you just a personal story, because what Shahnam was talking about really inspired me to think about and tell you about one of my children. I'm lucky to have 7 children, and your children are obviously, you want them not just to be the children of your physical life, you want them to be the children of your heart. And I'm very lucky that my children are very kind and very sweet and very truthful and very loving. And I'm especially lucky to have a child whose name is Mercy. And Mercy is our special daughter, or special child. She was born with a disease called Aicardi syndrome. So she's never developed beyond a baby. One of my sons calls her perma baby, right? She'll always be the baby. So she's a middle child, so she's in the middle of the 7th. And I always wondered how she got there, but she, well, even before she was born, before we knew that there was anything wrong, we had decided we would call her Mercedes. And my kids gave me a very hard time about that because they thought, Dad, you can't call her Mercedes Lenz. It's just not a good name. So we changed it to Mercy. And she's like one of these little angels in our house, right? She'll never speak. She'll never move. She can't walk. She sits in a wheelchair all the time. She's now 24, and they said she wouldn't live very long when she was first born. So she's kind of surprised everybody, and also, you know, surprised us. But the thing about her is, I know, based on the Baha'i teachings, that there's an amazing soul in there, and I especially feel it so deeply when I say prayers with her. And if I'm ever facing really challenging times or difficulties, every time I sit and pray with her, I feel a profound sense of peace, because I know that there's a pure soul there that doesn't have to, in a sense, go through the issues of choice. She doesn't have the dignity of choice, but she also has freedom from choice. She will never say a harmful word. She'll never hurt anybody. She'll never go through any of the things of this life. But in many ways, I see her perfections, and I know that God, in His mercy, will also provide her with a reward for what the suffering that she goes through. She has countless seizures every day, and really has a challenging life, but it really teaches me and teaches our family that compassion is such an important quality, and compassion, she awakens compassion in us and in others. So part of what I've been trying to do is write songs about these qualities of that are mentioned, of course, in this beautiful calendar of the Bab that was ratified by Baha'u'llah, the Baha'i calendar. And these attributes are actually part of a prayer by Muhammad. And so this particular one I want to play for you is about perfection. And I know Shahnam mentions perfection very often, and I really feel like we need to be striving for these perfections in this world, the perfections of our heart, perfections of our mind, perfection of knowledge, perfection of action, of deeds, of service. So Abdu'l-Baha says this beautiful thing where he says that we should walk high above the world of being, right? And I thought, what an amazing kind of call to us, that we should walk high above the world of being. But the perfections that we gather in this world are really the only thing we take with us, yes? The Guardian reminds us about this in many ways. He says it's what we make of our souls in this world is what we take to the next world. So these perfections are so important. And these perfections really come through service and through teaching. So this is a song called Perfection, as for the Feast of Perfection. In the Bible, it says, man is made in the image of God. But I wanted to make sure we included women and children in that. So you'll forgive the intro. Man made in the image of God, woman made in the image of God, child made in the image of God, made in the image of perfection, in the image of Kamal, in the image of perfection, in the image of the Father of us all, Baha'i. high above the world of being. Walk high above in the world of love. Live high the life of spiritual meaning. Walk high, walk high, walk high, walk high. Man made in the image of God, woman made in the image of God, child made in the image of God. In this world we seek perfection. In this world we seek, come on. All we take from this world is perfection for the Father of us all, Baha'i. Walk high above the world of being. Walk high above in the world of love. Live high the life of spiritual. Walk high, walk high, walk high. This is the century of the blessed perfection. This is the century of light. This is the century of the blessed perfection. This is the century of light. See the light. Man made in the image of God, woman made in the image of God, child made in the image of God. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. So nice to be here with you all. God bless.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Jack Lenz. Thank you. We appreciate so much. It was so nice. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, dearest Jack. Thank you. And thank you for sharing of your talent and of yourself. I think that kind of sharing is what builds community. And I think I can speak for Shahnam when I say that this is what we are trying to do here, is build a community through Zoom, where we're all alone in a room, but all connected to each other.
Yes.
So thank you so much for your contribution. And thank you so much, Shahnam, again, for your enlightening presentation.
Beautiful.
Good evening, everyone. Aloha. It's such great pleasure to see everyone and to have such wonderful guests tonight. Thank you so much. Thanks to everyone who participated. And ahead of our program, we are going to have another special guest from Italy. And I have great honor to present him. His name is Naim Abid, and he is a well-known musician in the world. He is conquering hearts with his wonderful music, with his wonderful composition on the words of Baha'u'llah, from the writings of Baha'u'llah. He is constantly working. He is a restless servant of Baha'u'llah, always ready to spread his word across continents. And we are so lucky today to have him with us. He is going to represent us 4 pieces of his composition on the words of Baha'u'llah, and you all can participate as well. Some of these pieces you will hear in Italian and some of them in English. And surely it's going to be a soul-moving performance. So once we have announcers and once we finish announcements, So I welcome all of you to enjoy and to have great pleasure of his wonderful performance. Thanks again to everyone. Thanks to organizers of this wonderful program. Thanks. I hope you enjoy.
And a lot of you have asked how we can find the links on YouTube and Facebook page. We will be sharing them in a minute.
Okay. Hello, everybody. How are you? Are you doing good? It's always so weird to be holding some kind of concerts and live on Zoom and other platforms. And more than that, I have my camera here and the computer is there. So you are there, but I gotta watch straight. Anyway, I don't know how's the weather in Germany, Canada, or wherever you're living, but in Italy, where I live, it's raining since 20 days. It's terrible. You cannot go outside. Okay, there's, this COVID thing, but anyway, it's even harder now because it's raining every day. But what the rain tells us, it's something very interesting. There are some words from Baha'u'llah in which he says that everybody can have the blessings of God every day, in every minute, in every second of his life. And more or less is like the rain. When outside is raining, you can go there and, there are two possibilities, just two options. The first one is to take the umbrella with you so that you're not getting wet. The second option is just leaving the umbrella where this is and go outside and feeling every drop of rain on your body, on your head, on your hands, on your chins, wherever. And the big difference is that the first option is very safe and the second one is risky because you're gonna get wet all over your body. And the same is with the love of God. We have that love of God every day, but we can decide whether we can feel it or not, putting some veil, some umbrella above our head. In this writing, Baha'u'llah says, "Love me so that I can love thee. If you do not love me, my love will never ever reach you." And this is sung in Italian. Acciò che io possa amarti se tu non m'ami, il mio amore non potrà mai raggiungerti, sappilo mio servo, figlio dell'essere, figlio dell'essere. Acciò che io possa amarti se tu non m'ami, il mio amore non potrà mai raggiungerti, sappilo mio servo, amami. Acciò che io possa amarti se tu non m'ami, il mio amore non potrà mai raggiungerti, sappilo mio servo. Allontanati da te stesso, se cerchi il mio compiacimento, non considerare il tuo. Amami, lascio che io possa morire in te ed io possa eternamente vivere in te. Figlio nell'essere, figlio nell'essere. Figlio nell'essere, figlio nell'essere. Figlio nell'essere, figlio nell'essere. Amami, 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 amami. Oh, amami, amami,
Wow, 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 wow. Merci, June. Merci, merci. Oh, wonderful. Woo!
Thank you. Thank you for being somehow alive.
Beautiful. Woo! Woo!
That's too kind of you. Too kind of you. Thank you very much.
Very perfect. Thank you. Thank you. With all language. Merci, Naim June. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
خیلی ممنون, etc. etc.
خیلی ممنون.
Thank
So
you.
can you please continue a little
Yeah,
more?
yeah, I will. I will continue.
Thank you.
I just have a program that is like 3 hours long. No, I'm kidding. Of course, I'm kidding. I know you all have to have your dinner and whatever. It's gonna take just a few minutes. So this first song was about somehow, you know, the most wonderful kind of love that we witness in our lives, or if we do not witness this, well, it's an opportunity that you might face in your life, and it's the love from God to man, but also from man to God. The second song I'm going to sing for you, it's also taken from the Baha'i writings.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And this song is once again in Italian, so I don't know if you can get all the words, maybe not even one, but the significance and the meaning is very brief and very, very powerful. It says that when you, in your daily life, you gotta have a very kind attitude towards everybody that will face you in your path. So it's like there's the love from God to man, but also the love from man to man, woman to woman. I mean, everybody, mankind. So this song is about that. And when I do it in concerts, of course, everybody can join in and sing it together and move and shake your hands and whatever, but it's not that possible here. But anyway, in case you want to do it at home, you can try. Fate che il vostro cuore sia pieno di amorevole gentilezza. Fate che il vostro cuore sia pieno di amorevole gentilezza. Per tutti quelli che incontrate sul vostro cammino. Fate che il vostro cuore Siete foglie dello stesso ramo, siete onde dello stesso mare, siete stelle dello stesso cielo. Quindi fate che il vostro cuore, fate che il vostro cuore sia pieno di amorevole gentilezza per tutti quelli che, per tutti quelli che incontrate sul vostro cammino. Fate che il vostro cuore, fate che il vostro cuore sia pieno di amorevole gentilezza. So this song, thank you. Yeah! Yeah! Sorry if I twist my face, but as I told you at the beginning, my computer is there, so I gotta watch there on the screen to see you all. Otherwise, I'm just facing my camera. I don't see anything. Okay, let's move on. So I can't hear you, Roya, if you're talking. Were you talking?
No.
Okay, sorry. So let's move on with another couple of songs. And the first one, well, it's, I would say, on the most evident effect of love among everybody, and is unity. And this song is going to be in 3 languages. The first one is English. The second one is Italian, and we have a very special surprise for our Spanish friends, if there's anybody here, because it's going to be in Spanish, the third part. So it's a very famous and well-known, I mean, some of you might know it, quotations from the Baha'i writings, in which Baha'u'llah says that so powerful is the light of unity that it can illuminate the whole earth. All of these songs that I'm going to sing for you tonight were composed years ago while doing junior youth activities or study circles or going around for teaching activities in Europe, basically. And this song especially was meant to be sang for those guys and those girls that are in their, I don't know, middle age, I would say, junior youth anyway. And the song goes like this. So powerful is the light of unity. So powerful is the light of unity that it can illuminate the whole earth. That it can illuminate the whole earth. The whole earth. The whole earth, the whole earth. Down so powerful, so powerful. It's this light of unity.
Naim, you are amazing. Actually, thank you.
You know, it's my brother. It's not me. I have a twin, and he's doing the whole thing for me. I'm kidding, anyway. It's just a joke. Thank you. So I know you're trying to move somehow while you're there at your place, but I know it's our time. It's difficult to do that, but who cares? We're trying to do our best to bring everybody some joy, some happiness. And this last song is the last song. Then you can have your dinner or whatever you're going to have in the remaining time that you have before going to sleep. And this song is a song that I used to do every time I end my concerts. I mean, my real concerts, not like online streaming. But because my profession is singing, so I have concerts here and there. And when I have solo concerts, whether they are Baha'i or not, because I do many other things, I like ending the concert with this song. It's a Yaba Haulapa that I put into music some years ago. And usually I used to split the audience into 2 or 3 groups. It depends on the audience, and they do different voices and different sections of the song. It's not possible here, of course, but anyway, it's a very simple song. It's Arabic because it's Yaba Haulapa, and it is like a hymn for joy somehow. And it's gonna take a very brief time, and I hope you can enjoy and just feel relaxed and concentrate every thought you have on something that you feel to be amazing.
نعیم جان صدات قطع شد انگار. نعیم please. Sorry.
What happened? What happened to my audio?
Actually, I don't know what we could.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, now.
Okay. I'll start from the beginning.
Thank you.
Yaba Haulapa, Yaba Haulapa, Yaba Haulapa, Allahu Akbar, Yaba Haulapa, Yaba Haulapa, Yaba Haulapa, Allahu Akbar, Yaba Haulapa, Allahu Akbar,
Oh my
Yabba hola, everybody.
God.
Thank you so much for having me.
John,
God bless you all.
love you so much. You are amazing. You are wonderful. Mwah, mwah. Thank you, Naeem John. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Oh my God, watch people what they do for you, Naeem John. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much that you have been here with us. And please take care of yourself. And don't forget it. We love you so much. And I want to appreciate so much from my co-hosts, Samha June, Mariam June, and Irena. You have helped me so much tonight. Love you guys. Allah Pa to everybody. Bye. Bye. Have a bye.
Thank you very much, friends. Hope to see you in 2 weeks again. All the best. Allah Hafa.
Allah Apa. Allah Apa.
So this is the Facebook page and the Instagram page for people who are asking where they can find the link for tonight's talk. This is the YouTube video that it has been already posted there.